To the hip hop. To the hip hop. To the hip hop.
What?
To the hip hop. Yeah.
Hi guys, welcome to the HP Men Soccer Podcast. This is the late night edition. It's 10:36 on a Saturday, and we're just pumping out an episode right now for y'all. It's gonna be a good one, I think. It's gonna be a little bit slower pace. We're gonna bring down the pacage on our episode just so y'all can enjoy it a little bit more. So we're talking about a couple different things. So Jack, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about the banquet.
That's a little bit too slow.
We're talking about the banquet that just happened, and like the awards and who got captain, and because we got captain, so that's good. And also,
you can laugh it up. You can laugh it up.
And also, we're talking about the draft. What happened in the
You
draft?
sound so excited.
Dude,
It's kind of late. It's pretty late.
I'm tired as hell.
So first order of business is going to be the banquet. And so the banquet had a lot of stuff going on. It was a big deal. So we had all the 6 awards being awarded, and then we had the captains being awarded at the end of the night. There's a lot of anticipation with that award. There's a lot of people that were wanting to get captain that didn't get it. A lot of people that got it that really were surprising. So we're going to be talking about that. It's kind of a big deal. Lots to talk about. So the first award was Defensive Player of the Year, and that was won by no other than
Sebastian Tamakis. Sebastian Tamakis won that one, and he's an absolute rock at the back.
You're talking so slow.
He's an absolute rock at the back. He's a champion. He has the heart of a lion, and also like he's a really nice guy. He's a podcast favorite. We always talk about PK and Cullen.
That's not even.
We always talk about.
That's not even who got it.
We always talk about PK and Cullen and Sebastian.
You're sweating like a mother.
Dude, it's hot as fucking here because you have
You
the
can take
lights
off
on.
He's wearing a sweater,
Oh yeah,
and there's no fan on in our room.
yeah, that was dumb.
You should probably
That was a
take-
miscalculation. All right, I'll take that off. Take it off.
So Sebastian was a solid pickup. Definitely should have won Defensive Player of the Year. He really was going uncontested because he was that good throughout the course of the season. He kept us in every game. He was a leader. Obviously, he was a captain, so that was expected.
All right, we're back.
But he did everything he could to make sure that we were in a position to win in every game that we played. So he definitely deserved it. So next is Utility Player. And Utility Player of the Year this year was Patrick Rice.
PK, of course, podcast favorite.
Patrick, you moved him around wherever you wanted to. And oh my God. You'd move him around wherever you wanted to, and you would get production wherever you wanted it. He was a stalwart. He's a podcast favorite. He actually is. And it was great. What do you have to say about PK?
PK. What do I have to say about PK? Look, all I'm going to say is, well, okay, so here's what I'm going to say. So
I just drank all my coffee.
Every
and we're only 3.5 minutes in the podcast.
Dog, you got to pace yourself.
All right, I'm trying to.
Anyways, every time I walk into English, I got 2 things on my mind. 1, make sure that when I see Digno and I dab him up, we got to do that crisp high five, and it got to make that popping sound, you know what I mean? Like that little, yeah, because like if not, then that just starts the whole period like in a terrible way.
Right.
And you got to walk outside the class, come back in, and like maybe it takes 3-4 times, but you got to do it, you know what I mean?
You gotta do what you gotta do.
The second thing is if PK's there. Because you know that even if PK's there, it's going to kind of be difficult to see him because he's very quiet. So you got to just make sure he's there. You know what I mean?
Right.
So those are the 2 things I check for.
That's
and
good.
I mean, there's probably like other things I think about like on a day-to-day basis, but I can't really think of them now.
Yeah, it's kind of late, so I don't blame you. But anyways, PK was a big deal, huge part of our team. He definitely deserved to win the award. Utility was an award that suited him. I'm not actually sure he won Utility. Did he? I think I just said that.
I think he did. you didn't, then
Well, it's on the Twitter.
Yeah,
on
you
the-
guys should go follow the Twitter
Yeah,
at
you can check
HP
that.
Men's.
And so moving on from PK, we'll fact check that just to make sure that he did get it. That's not the Twitter.
That's gonna suck.
That's your Twitter. We need to get on that.
Oh yeah. I gotta
Anyways,
Have you guys got to check out this tweet when Quinnen Williams blesses himself and then thanks himself. Here, I'll play the clip.
The hard work, the dedication, the different character things. Listen, thank you that I got.
I watch that
I
shit
didn't
like
even hear
1,000
that.
times and I fucking laugh every time.
so next was Newcomer of the Year, and Newcomer was kind of a big deal because there was a lot of people that could have won that award. PK won utility, but PK was still eligible for the award. Cullen actually ended up winning the award, so Cullen was our utility player of the year.
Oh, he was.
Or no, he was was Cullen? No, Newcomer. I mean Newcomer.
Yeah,
Cullen was
wait.
Newcomer of the year, rightfully so. It's on the.
Okay,
Yeah.
finally found it. God damn.
It should have been.
Okay, offensive player. Utility. Okay, PK.
PK
PK was
did
the
win
utility
utility.
player.
Okay,
Okay,
perfect.
good. We got it.
So Cullen was Newcomer, and like I said, there was a lot of people that could have won that award. A lot of people that were up for the award. Cullen should have won it, obviously, and he did. So congratulations to Cullen.
For newcomer,
for
not
newcomer.
utility. Yeah.
Do I keep on saying utility?
I don't know, bro. I'm not.
Okay,
I can't,
well, newcomer.
can't really think right
Cullen
now.
was a great newcomer. Every game, every play, he was giving it his all, and he was a great player for us.
Yeah.
We needed him throughout the season. He came through throughout the season, and it was only fitting that he got Newcomer of the Year because he was such a key and vital role to our team. So that was evident. So big time award right here. We're talking about MVP. Now MVP there was a few people that were up for it. Me, Tamakis, and Jordan. All three of us valid candidates. Sebastian Tamakis walked away
Flex.
with it, and I don't even think it was close. I think he won by a landslide, and I don't think
Because
anyone
like,
is disappointed.
MVP is like the player that you could not play without. Like I feel like we could play without Jorge. We could play without like Jordan. We could play without like a bunch of guys because like basically field players are like more in numbers. You know, like there's a lot more of them. But like goalkeepers are a dime a dozen. Like it's really hard to find a good one. And so like, we literally
have
could not
someone
play.
like Tamakis too.
Yeah, like
I mean, anyone that has the same level that Tamakis has is vital. So Tamakis definitely
yeah.
deserved MVP, and he did win MVP. So congratulations to Sebastian Tamakis. Also, he's leaving after this year, so we're going to be
He's going to
looking
UT.
for a new goalkeeper at the start of next season. So as of right now, that's looking to be Benson Freeman, JV Wonder Kid,
Bento.
Bento. So we'll see about that.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
No, look, like Bento is gonna have a hell of a job ahead of him because it's
I think he'll do it. He's
I
pretty
know.
good.
Yeah, Bento is a solid keeper. Like everybody thinks Bento's good.
He's really good.
But all I'm saying is like when you're coming into the program in the varsity team after an absolute beast of a man like Tamakis is left is like an absolute like nightmare. You know what I mean?
Big shoes to fill.
Yeah, it's like at the talent show when like some guy brings out like say like Kanye West to like sing a duet with him or whatever, and you're like, God damn, like everybody's going insane, and then you just go up there and like play the piano. You know what I mean? You can still be a hell of a piano player, but you're not going to top
It's a hard
Cam.
show to follow up,
It's a really hard show to follow. It can be done, but
it'll be hard.
it'll be really hard.
So we'll see about that. Benson is, as it looks right now, he is going to be our starting varsity keeper for next year. So we're looking forward to having him. He's a very talented player. And so the final award that was handed out was Offensive Player of the Year. There was a few people that could have won that award. I ended up winning it, and it was an honor. I was flattered. It was great. And so enough with the awards because that's great. Awards are fantastic. I like being recognized. People like being recognized. But there's one thing that was on everyone's mind throughout the course of the night.
Captains.
Captains.
And look,
Let's just say I can't count all the captains on one hand. I have to start getting the other one involved too.
yeah, because there was
six.
12 people running, right?
Well, there were 6 people that actually got it.
I know, but like 12 people ran. It's like
So
that's a lot
there
of
was,
captains.
It was a loaded field. Let me
6
just set the
captains.
scene here.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this before in the last few episodes. Loaded field, 12 people running. Everyone has their own thing that makes them a great leader. So it ended up coming down to a lot of close votes. Some JV players voting, some varsity players voting. There's a big, wide range of people that were voted for. And so we originally thought it was going to be top 4, top 5, but it ended up being top 6. And now
Yeah.
top 6 was, that was sort of unexpected. When Coach Allen said there's going to be 6 captains, there was some sort of, I feel like part of it was relief because people were like, you know what, that's 50% of the people that ended up running are going to be getting captain.
That's a lot of fucking captains, dude.
It's a lot of people.
That's like half the starting lineup. Like,
That's more than half the starting lineup.
yeah, because I'm just saying, like, when we go out before games and we're gonna like dab the other team up and like say good game or whatever, then or like good luck or whatever, like 6 people coming out, that's insane. Think about that. Other teams only have like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
We literally have double what they have. They don't have any chance of winning.
So anyways, I'm glad that you guys were waiting for this because we have the captains right here. So I'm a captain.
I'm also a captain.
Patrick Christ is a captain.
Wesley Winters is captain.
Colin Siofi is a captain.
And last but not least, Trey Nemeth.
So
Trey was actually interesting because he wasn't even on varsity the whole year, but everybody loves Trey, and he's just like a great leader and just a great guy. So even though he only played like he played more than half the season on varsity, right?
he came in the game that I got hurt against Creekview. So it was the first time we played. Not Creekview.
So I would say like 40% of the season had gone by then, right?
Yeah, close to it.
That's he's playing like more than half the season, but he didn't make varsity like to start out, not because he wasn't good enough, just because like we have so many players, and so that's just like a hell of a job. Like that's a huge pat on the back of Mr. Nemeth because everybody loves Trey and like nobody expected that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was unexpected, but at the same time, it
It's
sort of made
well-deserved.
sense because he
Yeah.
has been with the JV players for such a long time. He kind of knows them better than us as varsity players do because he's been with them, obviously, for an extended period of time, and he's
Yeah,
had the whole year to get to know them.
But we gonna change that.
I don't know what that means.
Meaning we gotta hang out with Trey more, get him like more with the boys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we gotta not like initiate him, but
Okay.
Anyways.
So congratulations to everyone that got captain, and congratulations to everyone that ran for it because it's a process. There's
Thank
a lot
you.
of things you have to do in order to be eligible to be a captain.
thank you.
So everyone that did run, thank you guys for running. You guys, that's not going to stop people from being leaders in the season because we're going to need that.
Oh yeah, like every single player that ran basically had a chance of getting it. Like that's how good it was because on the field, like it just depends what part of the field. If it's a defense, there's 3-4 leaders right there. You know what I mean? There's no part of the field where leadership is lacking and nobody knows what to do. Like everybody does their role, so everything's great.
So there's a lot to be excited about, considering that obviously we have 6 captains. So there's a lot of leadership across the board there. But also, next season is going to be – can you stop doing that? Next season is going to be one that we're really excited for because we're trying to implement some plans as captains. We've already started going ahead and trying to work with Coach to establish some sort of plan that can get us ready for next season.
True.
We're not going to spoil it on the podcast because why would we do that? But
yeah,
there's a lot of stuff that we're trying to get Coach to agree with, get his opinion, gauge his opinion on, and just see what we can do to make our program better. So obviously the goal of any captain is to make the team better. And so we're personally guaranteeing you that.
we're gonna make playoffs next year.
We are going to make playoffs next year.
If we don't make playoffs this year, I'll never play another season of high school varsity soccer. How about that?
Okay.
Think about that.
I'm not going to need to
I
because we're going to
guarantee.
make playoffs. We're going to win the whole damn thing.
Fuck yeah.
So, a lot to look forward to. So that was basically what happened at the banquet. A lot of stuff going on, a lot of drama, a lot of high octane things going on,
Yeah.
exciting stuff. But that isn't the most exciting part of these last week and a half.
What was the most exciting part?
Well, let's just say
The NFL draft.
the NFL draft. Now, you guys already know what happened in the draft. You already know who got taken number 1 overall. Kyler Murray.
Yeah, of course.
Great guy.
Yeah.
You know, his suit was inspired by The Great Gatsby. You saw that, right?
Yeah, we read a book about it in English.
No, his suit was,
The pink one?
yeah.
Yeah, that was ugly as hell.
He said that was inspired by,
He actually
Great
said
Gatsby.
that?
Yeah. He
God
said that
damn.
was that Leonardo DiCaprio is his favorite actor, and in Great Gatsby,
What a
that was
fucking
his favorite movie.
what a fucking stud. This man can play football and he has literary knowledge
And he can play baseball.
and he can play baseball and he's 5'10".
And he was the first player ever to be chosen both in the MLB draft and the NFL draft in the first round.
And he went to Allen High School, which is only like 30 miles from here.
And he went to Oklahoma.
And he went to A&M.
And he never lost in high school.
And the Cardinals signed him without a no leaving for baseball clause, so he could just dip whenever he wants to.
And Josh Rosen got traded to the Dolphins. Okay, anyways.
What more could you possibly ask for?
The moral of the story is Kyler Murray is a guy with a lot of talent. A lot of talent. Cliff Kingsbury got his guy. I'm looking forward to watching the Cardinals play because not only was their first overall pick a stunner of a pick, it was a great pick, but throughout the draft process, they picked up Hakeem Butler. They picked up who else?
They picked up a lot of great guys.
They picked up Deontay Thompson,
Yeah.
safety out of Alabama. They picked up
Alabama's known for producing exceptional defensive
they
players.
picked up Andy Isabella.
Andy Isabella's he's pretty good.
Andy Isabella is fantastic. His combine was quite remarkable. His 40 time was
Outrageous.
would have been the second fastest time had they not fucked up his time. Their draft across the board was fantastic. The Cardinals hit, the nail on the head going into this draft. They needed to have a home run draft, and that's exactly what they got. From top to bottom, offense and defense, they picked up exactly what they needed in order to be not a contender, but at least
I think they're gonna go 50. I think they're gonna go like 500 this year.
okay.
Do you think so?
I think they'll go above 500. I think they'll not only be in contention for a playoff spot, but I feel like they'll at least be
You think they win
in
the
the
division?
second. I feel like they could. I feel like it's possible. But at the same time, you got teams like the Seahawks, the Rams, to San Francisco. All these teams,
The
big drafts.
Seahawks had a great draft class as well, though.
The Seahawks, they had some
got
some
DK.
good picks. I mean, DK Metcalf, hard to go wrong with something like that. Somewhat risky, but at the end of the day, he's probably going to be someone that's going to be productive. He's going to be the number one receiver in Seattle by the start of the season.
I'm looking forward to DK Metcalf lining up against Richard Sherman and just fucking blowing him out of the water.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be
fucking
good. It's
running
hard to
through
go
that.
wrong with DK. The only issue is with the Seahawks, they weren't able to pick up a pass rusher. So, it's hard to. They dealed out Frank Clark for some picks. And Frank Clark, he's a Michigan man. He's a great guy.
He's a god.
He went to Kansas City, and in return, the Seattle Seahawks were able to garner, I think, 2 or 3 picks. So, big deal for that. They weren't able to address the pass rushing spot, which is an issue because when you trade someone like Frank Clark, that is the talent that he is, you need to be able to replace him as soon as possible with as much talent as you can. They didn't really do that this draft, so we'll see. They've definitely they've picked up some big players in DK. They've got some guys for the future that are going to make them tough to deal with, and San Francisco too.
San Francisco had a great draft class. Nick Bosa. Obviously, everybody knows Nick Bosa went to the Niners, so that's not exactly like a controversial thing to say. So, he's actually really good. I think he's better than his brother. Actually, he has a higher cap than his brother. He's better than his brother was in college. And he has a better... I think the 49ers are not a better organization, but they know how to foster success. The Chargers...
I feel like they're on the right path.
Yeah, their GM actually, knows what he's doing, unlike Gettleman. But that's a different thing.
Yeah, so Gettleman was interesting too, picking Daniel Jones at 6.
The Giants GM, for those who don't know who Gettleman is, just
Yeah, so Dave Gettleman and the Giants picked Daniel Jones at 6. And so that was the first real surprise of the draft. It was one that not a lot of people expected. Me personally, I felt that they were going to pick a pass rusher or
Dwayne Haskins.
just any defensive player that would have been the face of the franchise, because that's really what they needed. Because after they traded Odell, after they traded Olivier Vernon, they had big pieces missing, both offensively and defensively. And the quarterback that they were really aiming for, Daniel Jones, they were really going for him the whole time. I mean, he was the first or the second quarterback taken in the draft. Everyone knew Kyler Murray was going in the top 5, almost guaranteed to be the number 1 overall pick.
Almost.
So, really, people thought Dwayne Haskins was going to be the second quarterback taken. That was wrong. Daniel Jones was going at 6. And so people really, after that pick happened, were really surprised. They were really surprised that the Giants would risk such a vital pick on someone that people thought wasn't even supposed to be a second or third rounder.
Like, you saw the Giants fans in Nashville, Tennessee at the draft.
They were pissed.
And they were just like, what the fuck? What just happened, dude?
Well, I would be upset too.
I mean, I don't know. Like, it wasn't like they were upset. It was just like, what is going on?
Well, and Dave Gettleman too said that based on his past and what he's been able to do as a past GM, it was really hard for the Giants organization to pass on Josh Allen, who was still on the board, and who ended up going to the Jaguars, right?
Josh Allen, yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. The Raiders passed on him.
So-
yeah, Jaguars.
So it was really hard for Gettleman, he said, to pass on a pass rusher like that, because he knew how big a deal a pass rusher is to a team. And picking Daniel Jones, he said there was teams that were going to take Daniel Jones ahead of...
Who, though? Who would do that?
Well, they were saying that the Redskins would be one.
Okay, I can
And
see
then
that.
the other one would be, I think, the Broncos.
Yeah, okay.
So there was 2
Yeah.
teams that were looking for a quarterback. The Redskins were really set on Dwayne Haskins if he would fall to them, which he ended up doing. And then also the Broncos were obviously looking for a quarterback because they ended up drafting Drew Lock in the 3rd round with the 42nd overall pick, so 2nd round, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the 2nd round, 42nd overall pick, the Broncos selected Drew Lock. And we talked about Drew Lock, and I said that I would
He's a lock.
die. I would die if he didn't get picked by the Giants at 17. So he didn't. I'm not dead. So that's one thing. I think that's kind of good. I'm glad I didn't die. But that kind of sucks because I thought Drew Lock was going to be going to the Giants. So Dave Gettleman really did not give us a direct answer about why he picked Daniel Jones, who many expected to be a below average to average quarterback in the NFL. I feel like a lot of it has to do with the similarities between him and Eli. I don't really know why anyone would risk a 6th overall pick on someone bang average like that, but I guess he sees something in Daniel Jones that we just didn't see. Because, I mean, we didn't sit down with him and interview him and get to know him at the combine. We didn't really do that. So.
I mean, I would think that like someone like Jarrett Stidham is better than Daniel Jones.
I mean, it's hard to tell. I mean, the thing about Jarrett Stidham, I was telling you this earlier. Jarrett Stidham
played in the SEC.
Played in the SEC, had faced insane competition throughout. Same as Drew Lock, but Jarrett Stidham, when he was in the pocket with a clean pocket, he was the 3rd most accurate, he had the 3rd highest adjusted completion percentage with a clean pocket. And so Auburn, they're a good team, but their O-line was kind of iffy. So when Jarrett Stidham did have a clean pocket, he was able to move the chains, get offenses going, score touchdowns. He was able to put the ball in the end zone, which is exactly what you're looking for. And so he ranked 3rd behind Kyler Murray and Dwayne Haskins, who were taken as the 1st and 3rd quarterback, and Daniel Jones is wherever on that list. He's not in the top 3, I can guarantee you that. But the fact that Jarrett Stidham was picked by the Patriots was a big deal because they potentially have Tom Brady's successor already working in the locker room. So we'll see about that. Also, Dave Gettleman was talking about how they're going to take the, quote, Aaron Rodgers approach in training Daniel Jones, which essentially is having him sit behind Eli Manning for the next 3 years and have him develop as a quarterback behind Eli Manning.
I
So,
mean, it's not like Daniel Jones didn't play anybody. Like, he played, like, Clemson, and he played the University of Miami, and he played Notre Dame, and, like, those and Florida State, and those are, like, reputable things. It's not like playing, like, Eastern Arkansas or whatever, where he's completely untested. So, like, I think the Giants, like, had enough film on him, had enough homework, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, someone like DK Metcalf who only played 13 games. That's an absolute risk.
The
I'd
only-
say that's more of a risk than Daniel Jones.
Well, there's an issue with Daniel Jones that sort of pops out at you when you compare Daniel Jones with Dwayne Haskins, because Daniel Jones had the best touchdown to interception ratio out of any Duke quarterback ever, which is 1.8 to 1. So basically 2 touchdowns to every 1 interception.
It's pretty fucking good.
That's pretty bad.
No, that's good.
That's
for,
not
like,
good. 2 touchdowns for every 1 interception.
For at Duke though, where you don't have the star power. Like if you were saying like at Clemson or Alabama or something like that, then you would have something like worrying.
Well,
But at Duke, where you don't have really any standout wide receivers.
Well, you just said that. Well, anyways, Dwayne Haskins was, I mean, he was unbelievably good. He had 52 touchdowns with, I think, close to 6 or 8 interceptions. That's unbelievable. Those are stats that kind of open your eyes and say, I want this guy to be a franchise quarterback. He produced better stats on paper than Daniel Jones did at his career at Duke. And that's just sort of concerning to see that someone with a 2-to-1 interception ratio, touchdown to interception ratio, rather, is being drafted higher than someone that produced record-setting numbers in the Big Ten, a pretty good conference defensively.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was putting up these numbers week in, week out, and was really one of the most valuable players the Big Ten had to offer. And he was taken behind someone like Daniel Jones, who didn't really face a lot of
Well,
competition.
he was 22-9, Daniel Jones, over his 2 seasons. 22 touchdowns, 9 interceptions.
And Dwayne Haskins was 11-2 in one season. So, I
So,
mean,
I
there's
mean,
a lot of different ways
yeah,
you can
but-
look at these sort of deal. I mean, what's done is done. The cake has been baked. Daniel Jones is taken with a 6th overall pick. And also, we need to talk about how Dwayne Haskins is going to torment Giants fans for the next 10 years.
I mean, you saw what he said at the draft. He's like
The
the
league
league done messed
up.
up. Yeah, so he definitely has some fire to him. He's not one of those guys that's just like graceful and says thank you to the Redskins. I'm sure he did say thank you, but he's also like
He was like, no thanks, I don't want to play for y'all.
I mean, now he has like a chip on his shoulder, and I mean that's good. You want like someone like even like Josh Rosen, he has a massive chip on his shoulder. Like that's just extra motivation, and so I feel like Daniel Jones is just in an awkward position right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, and I'm struggling to find a reason why Gettleman would take someone like this, someone like Daniel Jones, with the 6th overall pick. And the only thing I can think of is the fact that he fits this sounds cliche, and I'm going to say that before I say the next thing I'm about to say, is he feels like Daniel Jones will define the culture that the Giants are trying to insinuate with the next coming
He's
years.
basically just another Eli Manning.
He is. He's quiet. He's not. And I sort of understand that. And I don't know why he was taken so early. I feel like they could have gotten away with taking him at 17, maybe even in the 2nd round.
Nobody else. I don't think the Redskins would have taken him.
They would not. If Dwayne Haskins was still available, the Redskins would have, no doubt, taken Dwayne Haskins. The only issue is whether or not the Broncos would have made a move on him, and instead they picked Noah Fant. So, I mean, I don't really know if you want to take a tight end in the 1st round. I know the Lions took T.J. Hawkinson, and
He's
that's
an
really
absolute
because
beast.
he's crazy good. He's super talented. But Noah Fant is pretty talented as well. But I don't think I would take Noah Fant over someone like Daniel Jones or Dwayne Haskins. So there's potential to have a team fighting for the quarterback of the future in the 1st round. So I can see how there'd be some sort of uncertainty. But still, the 6th overall pick is kind of generous. It's really kind of pushing the envelope, saying that, Daniel Jones is this good, we need to have him, whatever. So I feel like he would have been available in day 2. I really do. And like I said, I feel like the only reason why Dave Gettleman would risk a pick like this is because he's really pushing and vying for a complete change in culture for the Giants organization. Because, I mean, they released Odell Beckham Jr., they released Olivier Vernon,
But if it's the same as Eli Manning, then it ain't a real big change, though.
Well, I'm just saying, it's a culture thing. And Daniel Jones, how many times have you heard him speak out, lash out?
Never.
How long has he been in the news? Like, he doesn't seem like someone that when the lights are bright and when the lights are shining on him, that he would kind of
Run his mouth.
succumb to the pressure of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Hold on. So it sort of makes sense in that aspect of it. I kind of understand where he's coming from. He's sort of taking the Chris Ballard approach to this whole thing, really putting culture first, and that's really what he's trying to build his organization around. So in that aspect of it, I completely understand the pick. I like the pick, but I just feel like it's too early in the round to take someone like that, even with the emphasis on culture. I really think at 6th it's best available, and Daniel Jones just is not and was not the best player available at 6. I mean, you could have gotten a pass rusher. You could have gotten whoever you needed to on defense to fill, the pass rushing capabilities that you lost when you traded Olivier Vernon. So there's things that could have been fixed.
Yeah. I mean, so think about it. So when Dwayne Haskins, like, I obviously he's going to take the starting job immediately because Alex Smith is injured. But when Alex Smith recovers, do you think he's going to, like, stick around, or do you think they're going to trade him?
I feel like Alex Smith is reaching his decline. He's reaching really the end of his career, and I feel like it doesn't make sense to keep him around. So I feel like the Redskins would be more inclined to trade him or cut him or release him by the time that he comes back from that gruesome leg injury.
That was awful.
But we'll see. It's really too close to tell. I think the Redskins are just looking to win. Dwayne Haskins is a winner. I feel like you plug him in, you play him, you see what happens. He goes on a run, he rattles off some big wins, and that's your starting quarterback for the future. And he kind of just takes the job and runs with it, never gives it back, never looks back. I'm really concerned with how Dwayne Haskins is going to play against the Giants. I feel like he's going to eviscerate them. I don't feel like he's going to give them a chance. I feel like he's going to be really, really gunning for him. So,
Just because a chip on his shoulder like that?
Well, he just seems like someone that would just amplify a wrongdoing to him. I mean, it really wasn't that big a deal. He fell to 15. He fell to a team that wanted him. If the Giants wanted him, they would have drafted him at 6. It's pretty simple. They didn't draft him at 6. The Giants obviously did not want him. He's going to an organization that wanted him to begin with. The Redskins GM was vying for him. He was openly telling the press, openly telling sources that he wanted Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne Haskins was number 1 on their list. He was saying Dwayne Haskins was the guy since day one. They wanted him the whole time. And so when you have a team like that that's been standing behind you and that wanted you the whole time, you gotta play your heart out for him. And with the team that passed on you, like the Giants, you thought you were gonna go to them, but they passed on you for not just any player. They passed on you for Daniel Jones. You would be upset too. And so the first time they play, I mean, they're division rivals. They're gonna play 2 times this year, guaranteed. He's gonna count him for the next 10 years. I guarantee it.
So how do you think the Patriots came out complete winners. They got like Chase Winovich and N'Keal Harry. Those are pretty much like the 2 star players they got. So how do you think Chase Winovich is going to fit in?
So it's not really a question of how Chase Winovich will fit in. It's really a question of how the class will sort of fit into the Patriots. Chase Winovich, for me, is a personal favorite of mine. I love him. He's a 5th-year senior. I'm so glad that he got drafted by not just any team, but
the best team in football.
The best team in football, historically. It's awesome to see that. He will be surrounded by people that sort of think the same as him, that act the same as him, that really put football first, put the team on their back, and go balls to the wall with whatever they're trying to do. That's exactly what the Patriots do. That's what makes them so good. Having Chase Winovich on that team, having him be a pass rusher for the future under the supervision of Bill Belichick for what's left of his tenure with the Patriots, what Chase Winovich is going to reap out of that is going to be unbelievable, and it's going to mean so much to his career in the long run, having a Hall of Fame coach in Bill Belichick sort of train him and have him be one of the premier linebackers. I hope that's the goal, is have him be one of the premier, not linebackers, defensive ends for the NFL within the next 10 years. So we'll see about that. Also, N'Keal Harry, super excited about that. I don't know how he went to the page. I don't know how the NFL let that happen. That's dangerous, having a quarterback and Tom Brady be able to throw to whoever, give him a weapon like N'Keal Harry, who, if you've seen any of his highlight tapes, any of his, that was really loud. If you've seen any of his, I need to close that.
His highlight tapes.
No, any of his film, game tapes, whatever. You don't like that?
I was just repeating what you said.
You'll understand that he's a remarkable talent, and Tom Brady just got himself a hell of a weapon. So big moves with the Patriots. They had one of the best draft classes in recent history. I don't know how they ended up doing it, but it was a big deal. So yeah, that's what I really think.
All right. Now, moving on to more pressing matters. How are the Browns going to do?
So
Their team is fucking stacked.
we talked about this before too. There was a lot of different ways we could see the NFC or the AFC North going. The draft that the Steelers had, the draft that the Browns had, and the draft that the Ravens had all bolstered up their team and sort of identified and addressed the issues that each of these teams had.
Can't forget about the Bengals, though.
The Bengals, they drafted what? Ryan Finley, the quarterback. That's pretty much it. They didn't really do a whole, and Rodney Anderson. They didn't do a whole lot.
Yeah, that's true.
So, the Bengals aside, right here, we got three big boys and we got a little kid in the AFC North. The Steelers, their draft was fantastic. They picked up the best linebacker in the draft, Devin Bush Jr. We said on the last podcast episode, I don't know if we haven't released that episode yet. It's sort of weird. I'm not going to explain it on the podcast, but we said this in the last podcast that Devin Bush, he was going to be one of the best linebackers taken, period. Devin White was a great linebacker out of LSU. Devin Bush was really someone that you needed to look at and say, this guy can be the face of our team.
Yeah.
And so much so that the Steelers traded up 10 picks to pick him.
10.
And the Steelers, they are not a team that traditionally trades up, period. That's just not how they do it. They let the draft come to them. But this was sort of the difference maker in the draft. This is what they were banking on to build their team on for the future. Their defense just got significantly better with the drafting of Devin Bush, and Devin Bush was ecstatic about it. He was super excited to be drafted by the Steelers, super excited to be drafted by a team that would look at him and expect him to be the leader, and not the other way around. So I'm so happy for him. But not only that, the Steelers had a great amount of talent come on their team through the draft, one of them being Benny Snell Jr., running back out of Kentucky. He had a great season in the SEC. He had a great career with Kentucky. He is someone that's going to be lining up behind James Conner, and they're going to make things happen. I'm super excited. Ben Roethlisberger signed a 2-year extension, so they already have some consistency in the quarterback position. They know who's going to be lining up under center for the next 2 years. It's going to be a great thing to watch. So back to your question about the Browns, how they're going to do. I think they're going to be doing well. The only issue I see with them is the fact that they last year were not a team that had expectations. This year they're expected to win the whole thing. I feel like that change in expectations is going to sort of get to them eventually. But with a team like the Steelers, they were sort of counted out because of the departure of Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell. People started counting them out, saying, they're not going to be as good as they were. After the draft, they've completely revamped their team. They're younger, they're better, they're faster, they're stronger, and they don't have the locker room distraction that they had before. So I feel like it's going to be really close. I don't know if the Browns will be able to meet the expectations that everyone else is setting for them, considering how difficult their division ended up being post-draft. Because the Ravens, too. I'm not really going to get into them, but they had a lot of talent and get on the roster. And I'll talk about one guy, Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown out of OU. The best receiver in the draft. I think that he's the consensus best receiver. His story is amazing. You can sort of read about it on ESPN.
What about you? Want to just tell the podcast his story?
Well, he was born 2 weeks premature, so he was already going to be at a disadvantage in terms of his size. He's always been small. He capped out at 160, 165 pounds, 170 pounds maybe on a good day. And
he's tiny, bro.
He's a really tiny guy. He's the second cousin of Antonio Brown. So he's got some Mr. Big Chest in him. They call him Hollywood Brown because he's a flashy guy, obviously. But he has always been sort of doubted based on his size. He's never really been the highly touted, highly recruited receiver that he would have been had his talent really taken flight and his talent was shown to everyone at such a young age. People sort of doubted him. He played at OU, lit it up, had a fantastic season, had probably one of the better seasons out of any receiver in the draft this year. So, anyways, you can read more about him on ESPN. He's a fantastic player. The Ravens picked up someone they really needed. They needed some sort of receiver help to aid Lamar Jackson in his ability to run out of the pocket, scramble, toss the ball down the field, see what happens, throw it up. You really can't think of anyone better, aside from maybe DK Metcalf, than Marquise Brown to get open, get separation.
Marquise Brown can run all the routes, though.
And he's hella fast. Yeah, and that's another thing, too. You explain that to them.
Yeah, so DK Metcalf, that guy's an absolute beast of a man. He's massive. And so just thinking about it, like, he's not agile whatsoever. His 3-cone drill at the combine was
one of the worst ever.
Abysmal. It was awful. Like, it's not just like, oh, it was a disappointing showing. It's like people wrote this shit down because this was one of the worst things that's ever been seen at the combine. Like, that's how bad it was.
In that it was so bad that it sort of
fucking
leveled out
tanked
the
his
insanity
draft.
of his body fat, his 40 time, his vertical jump, his bench press, all these combine stats that were recorded that were
Insane.
top 80 plus percent.
Yeah.
80 plus percentile was all negated because of his 3-cone drill. That's how important that was.
I mean, yeah, for a receiver, like, anything that you need to, like, pivot on your feet, like a DB or a corner or a wide receiver or anything like that, that's obviously a huge important thing. But anyways, DK Metcalf, like, a lot of people question whether he can, like, come in and out of a route, like, pivot really quick and get some separation like that because he's so big, he has so much momentum. Basically, the only thing he can run are, like, slants or, like, go routes, you know what I mean? So a lot of people, so, like, Marquise Brown, the complete opposite. He's tiny, which means he's super agile, which means he can go in, out, and so the corners really don't know what to do, like, or he can just blow past him. So, like, thinking about it, DK Metcalf on the Seahawks, he's going to line up against someone like Richard Sherman, who, love him or hate him, has the most experience of most players in the league.
Yeah,
so,
at that position too.
Yeah, so he's going to know, okay, this guy, he's massive, so he's either going to run 1 or 2 routes, so he's just going to get swallowed up.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, like, if we can think about that, obviously the GMs have thought about that months before.
Yeah.
So that's why DK Metcalf fell.
And you mentioned this too. His injury history is really concerning because he has never played a full season in high school and well, maybe not high school, but in college for sure. He has not played a full season at all. He played 13 games at Ole Miss, some as a junior, some as a senior. He didn't
do outstanding.
He couldn't do outstanding. You can't play 13 games as a receiver and expect to blow everyone out of the water. I mean, he did that to the best of his ability, but he was hurt. He didn't play all the games. He had nagging injuries. You know, you could see that in the tape. You can see that in the way he ran his routes. A lot of his body was holding him back. And, I mean, depending on how well he, withholds his body, how well he trains, how well he listens to his body and prepares for any given Sunday, that's going to really define his career. Whether or not he's able to do it well, do it bad, you're going to be able to see it. If he's not able to keep up with the lifestyle of an NFL athlete, it's going to be evident very early on because he has not been able to prove to us that he's able to be healthy and be the number one. He was not the number one receiver on his own team at Ole Miss, but he had the stats that make you say, wow, like how I mean the measurables rather, to kind of raise your eyebrows and say, how was this guy not better at his college. It doesn't make sense.
Well, he wasn't that massive when he was playing at Ole Miss. Like, it was basically that photo, when he has his shirt off and he's, like, at the gym, like, with his boys.
Yeah.
And he just looks fucking huge, and everyone's like, oh, my God, who is this man?
Yeah.
And then, oh, that's DK Metcalf. Okay, we should probably put him on the fucking draft, like, mock
Rate
draft
him.
chart and, like, rate him highly because he's all hype. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
he wasn't that big at Ole Miss, and you can look at that, like, one of two ways. Like, okay, one, he got injured before, and now he's getting fucking massive, and so, like, maybe that's going to lessen his injury risk. You know what I mean? But two, his numbers at Ole Miss, he ran a bunch of different routes with more ease because he wasn't that big. So now that he's big, playing against bigger defenders, he might have even less success than in college.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of not really looking good for him. He's going to have to prove a lot of people wrong.
Well, I feel like the position that he's put in now is unique because he's more than likely, after the departure of Doug Baldwin, which we assume is going to be
He's probably the number
the course
one.
of action with the Seahawks, is they're probably going to let him go, let him walk, because, I mean, after 3 off-season surgeries, he's not the same. He's not the weapon that he used to be.
Plus, he's
And-
a goddamn hero in Seattle.
Yeah, he
Like,
really is.
There's no shame in walking away. He's going out.
No one will blame him.
Yeah, that guy's a champion.
And Pete Carroll said himself that whatever decision ends up being the result of this whole situation with Doug Baldwin, he, as Pete Carroll, and the Seahawks organization will stand by him 110% because he's given his body, his soul, everything he has been able to give, he has given up for the Seahawks. So assuming that he walks, assuming that he leaves, no shame in that, obviously, DK is going to be the guy. He's going to be the number one receiver, big body, that the Seahawks are going to have to rely on as a red zone threat. I mean, the closest thing you can get to a big play threat is going to be Tyler Lockett, who is a great returner, but not the world's best receiver. I mean, you can make a case that Russell Wilson and Tyler Lockett have a really great connection, but
Isn't that the guy that got his neck crunched on that?
that one time.
Yeah, so everybody knows about that. Everybody thought, like, hope to God that he's not
yeah.
paralyzed. That was awful.
That was really bad. So, anyways, my point is, Russell Wilson has a great receiver in Tyler Lockett, but there's no way that those two will be able to carry a franchise to where it wants to go and be successful, make the playoffs, make a playoff run, whatever. Those two people are not going to be capable of such a feat. So the addition of DK Metcalf, having a receiver that is bigger, has great hands, has pretty solid measurables aside from his 3-cone, you'd be able to make a run. So they've got a really good group of guys that might be able to string something together and be successful.
Yeah, so think about it if you're like the Seattle GM, right? You just paid Russell Wilson the biggest contract in NFL history, $35 million a year, $107 million guaranteed, both records. So you're really banking on DK Metcalf if you think about it. You're paying all this money to Russell Wilson, so he's not going anywhere, and he's a stud. But are you really comfortable with having kind of a two-dimensional receiver, either go route or slant route, with DK Metcalf, or did you really want someone like N'Keal Harry?
So here's the way that I look at that. You already have someone that sort of replicates N'Keal Harry's game in Tyler Lockett. Now, I don't want to discount what Russell Wilson and Lockett have been able to do, because when Russell targets Lockett, he is one of the highest passing or highest QBRs ever recorded between a receiver and his quarterback. They've got a connection. I'm just saying that they need something else that they're going to miss with the departure of Doug Baldwin.
Yeah.
They can get that through DK Metcalf. Two routes, 3 routes, whatever he is able to run will elevate this offense to something that they've not been able to be in the last few years. It'll keep defensive backs on their toes. Even though it's 2 routes, they have, I mean, on the other side of the ball, you have Lockett that's going to be able to run whatever route you ask him to run. He's going to keep the defense on their heels. You're going to have to focus on one or the other. You can't focus on both. So basically it's a give or take, right? You mark Lockett, DK gets his way. Other way around, I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can go about that. And depending also who they pick up in free agency as a running back, they need some help there. But they are a few weapons away from being a serious contender And the addition of DK Metcalf is something that you look at and you say, this might make their team. So we'll see in the long run. There's a lot of different things that can happen. Again, we need to see if Doug Baldwin will walk. If not, then you've got a really dangerous trio of receivers. So there's a lot of different ways you can go about this.
Yeah, if any organization knows how to make a champion, and if any coach knows how to make a champion, it's Pete Carroll.
Agreed.
Pete Carroll, basically USC, he was a god. Everybody loves him at USC, and because he led them to like 2 or 3 national championships, so he's amazing. And then like Pete Carroll really finds the players that maybe were a little bit overlooked, but he makes them into champions. So like Russell Wilson, 4th round pick. Now he's probably one of the best quarterbacks of all time.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
Pete Carroll knows what he's doing. So if anybody can make something out of DK Metcalf, not hating on DK Metcalf and not saying he's nothing, so Pete Carroll has to make something out of him. Obviously, he's an amazing player.
He's just going to bring out the best.
He's just going to bring out the best of him, yeah.
And it's interesting you bring that up too. Pete Carroll he's one of the few coaches that is putting his players first. Like I said, with the Doug Baldwin situation, he is willing to let Doug do whatever is best for him and his body. That's important, number one. A lot of coaches would kind of push the player to stay for one more year, one more run, whatever it may be, kind of putting the team ahead of the player. But in this situation, Pete Carroll is saying, listen, you have done this for our team.
Listen.
You've done a lot for our team. Do what is right for you. That's important. Also, in the interview that he had with DK Metcalf, when DK came in without his shirt, I don't know, did you see this? You saw this when
Yeah, and then Pete Carroll just takes off his
and then
shirt.
Pete Carroll took off his shirt to greet DK. That not a lot of head coaches would do that, but
Not
Pete
a
Carroll
lot
kind
of not a lot of head coaches have the absolute ripped, toned, fucking 12-pack that Pete Carroll has. Also,
That's true. So that just shows what kind of coach.
that
he
just
is.
shows you how fucking buff Pete Carroll is. That's all
Pete
that
Carroll,
shows you.
Yeah, big guy, Pete Carroll. So there's a lot of things that the draft has given us that have been a big deal. Super excited about what next season has in store, but there's also one more thing that next season's going to bring that we're all excited for, and that is Josh Rosen to Miami. Now, Miami already made a move and signed Fitzpatrick, the Harvard graduate. If you guys have not heard that yet, he graduated from Harvard.
He's
So
a smart dude.
big smart guy. So they bring in Josh Rosen.
Right. Who's absolutely been left to the wolves by the Cardinals.
Steve Smith.
Yeah, Steve Smith. Fuck Steve Smith. If Steve Smith is listening to this, probably not. But if he is, honestly, dude, you should be ashamed of yourself, dude.
If you guys have not listened to that clip of Steve Smith sort of
God.
ripping Josh Rosen, you should stop the video right now, or podcast, whatever. Stop it right now, look it up, and hear what he has to say.
If you are listening to this podcast while you are driving, literally pull your car over.
Put on your
Look-
hazards.
Put on your... Yeah, we want to be safe here. Look up Steve Smith draft, go off on Rosen. Like, that is just fucking ridiculous, dude.
It was really upsetting, too, because I feel like throughout the whole process, Josh Rosen has showed a maturity that not a lot of people would show if they were in that position.
Honestly. Steve Smith wouldn't have shown that maturity. Yeah, Steve Smith's just a bitch. And also, he's attacking a man who can't defend himself and who's chosen not to defend himself because he's a bigger man. And that's all I have to say about that.
Well, and Josh Rosen, too, he's not going to be handed this spot in Miami. Steve Smith was really getting onto Josh Rosen's case for not staying and fighting for a spot in Arizona, when in reality he wasn't even given the opportunity to fight for the starting quarterback position in Arizona. He was forced out. He was traded for 2 picks in the draft to Miami, and now he's doing his own thing. It's going to be interesting to see how Josh Rosen reacts to a situation as tumultuous as this, because he wasn't asked to be put in a situation like this. He never asked for the cards that he was dealt. He was just given it to him. And so essentially he's put in a position where he has to deal with the media, deal with the critics, deal with front offices not wanting him He has to deal with a team that drafted him and now doesn't want him. He has to deal with all these different things. He has to go to a different team. And it doesn't help that he had the worst O-line in football. He had an offensive coordinator fired in the middle of their season. He had no receivers. He had no help. And he wasn't given a fair shot. And so when you have someone like Steve Smith come at Josh Rosen for not being able to showcase his talent, showcase his ability during the season, it's hard to take that seriously when you look at what Rosen was given. He did not have any weapons whatsoever to show and showcase his talent to begin with. It's unfair. Now, I'm excited to see what he's able to do at Miami with a better offensive line, with some playmakers on offense and defense. I mean, they drafted, I think, was it Dexter Lawrence?
Yeah.
So they drafted Dexter Lawrence out of Clemson, defensive tackle. So they've got some playmakers. They had a pretty decent draft. It could have been better, but they had some players that got picked up that are going to be, plug and play, fantastic players from the get-go. Josh Rosen's going to have the chance to fight. He's not going to be given the starting spot. That's one of the things that was made apparent when he was traded to Miami, is he was not going to have the starting spot there. He was going to have to fight for it. He was going to have to fight with Fitzpatrick for that spot. Now, depending on how well he does in training camp and OTAs, that's going to determine whether or not he is going to be able to be under center on week 1 with the Dolphins. It's going to be important. It's going to be very interesting to see. I hope he gets it. And honestly, I'm Team Rosen right now. Like, are you Team Rosen?
I don't know if I'm Team Rosen. I'm not on the team of everybody bashing him, but I still don't think he's that great of a quarterback.
So I'm just going to go out and say I'm Team Rosen from here on, because he kind of was not given a fair shot in Arizona, and I feel like anyone can agree to that. Anyone can attest to that claim. So I'm excited to see what he's able to bring to Miami, because everyone's kind of counting him out. Everyone's like, Rosen is shit, Rosen's bad. I feel like if he's given an opportunity to play behind an offensive line that is not as bad as it was in Arizona, if he's given receivers like Amendola, or not Amendola because he left, but Kenny Stills or whatever receivers that Albert Wilson, they've got weapons in Miami that Rosen could definitely use to his advantage, and is a step up, no doubt, from what he was given in Arizona. So 100% Team Rosen right now. I hope whatever comes of his career in Miami is one that will prove everyone wrong, prove the doubters wrong, and have him sort of have his way. And I really do hope that Rosen, when he plays Arizona, whenever he does, will kind of kill them. Will kind of end their careers. Kind of show Kyler Murray what's up. How cool would that be if Josh Rosen just pulled up and beat Kyler Murray, beat his former team?
That'd be fucking lit.
That would be exciting. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing whether or not he can duke out the Harvard graduate and see what he can make of his career in Miami. Because, like I said, he was not given a first shot in Arizona. It's apparent. You can ask anyone you want. He was not given the right options, the right things that you would want to give your quote-unquote future franchise quarterback. Because that's really what they drafted Rosen for with the 10th overall pick in the 2018 draft, was to have him be the franchise quarterback for the next 5, 10, 15 years. Now, their plan only lasted for a year, because when Kyler Murray came out of college, Cliff Kingsbury was all over that. So we'll see. It's interesting. Excited about the draft, excited about what the next season has to hold, or has in store for us, rather. And I'm just excited to see how everything shakes out. It's really late right now. It's 12:09. So if you've listened to us for this long, understand we're tired. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. We really do enjoy doing this. If you have any comments, concerns, anything you want us to talk about, any guests, anything, you can contact us with the handle at HP Men's Podcast on Twitter. That's the official Twitter account of the Highland Park Men's Soccer Podcast. It's the name, HP Men's Podcast. If you have anything you want to share with us, text us, anything, you can reach us through there. And Jack, do you have any closing remarks?
Yeah, y'all are champs if you listen to this. And
if you watch the video, because this is going on YouTube.
Yeah.
And we're really tired. If you guys are watching YouTube, I think you can tell pretty easily that we're gassed.
Yeah. So.
Anyways, finish your night.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to HP Men's Soccer Podcast. I'm Jack Hamilton. This is Jorge Rodriguez.
I'm Jorge Rodriguez.
We're co-hosts, and we're fucking.
That was
killing
the
it.
worst outro ever. Let me
Sorry.
finish it off. Guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for sticking around with us at the HP Men's Soccer Podcast. I'm not sure when this episode will be released. I'm not sure where it'll be released, but the fact that you listened makes me really happy. Makes Jack really happy.
Yeah, and also, if y'all want to donate to the HP Men's Soccer Podcast, like nothing formal, just like slip me like $20 at school. We don't have like a Venmo account set up yet for the podcast, but like if y'all want to keep hearing episodes, then like just like give me some money so we can keep it going. So that'd be lit.
So thank y'all. Hope you enjoyed.
All right, and
We're gonna see you guys here next time on the HP Men's Soccer. You can already hear my dad playing guitar. That's kind of shitty.
yeah, that's how you know.
Maybe that's our outro music. I don't know.
No, okay.
All right, guys. So thank you for listening to the HBO Soccer Podcast. Like Jack said, pay him, pay me. Donations are always welcome. Thank you for listening. This has been an hour and 1 minute of podcast. So we hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you guys here next time on the HBO Soccer Podcast.
Peace.